Hey everybody, and welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Sinead DeFries, and this is the daily show where we bring you the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining us this morning is your Collider Movie Talk crew. First up, senior producer John Campea.
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, coming to you from right here at the Collider Video headquarters here, and Mark Ellis just Geno Smithed me backstage.
Also here is Nerdist correspondent Miss Clarke Wolfe.
Hey, everybody. Actually, I Geno Smithed John. Thanks for having me, guys.
And Mark Ellis.
There's a good reason for my Geno Smithing. It's that I was the host yesterday, and now some other girl's in my place, and I'm not happy about it.
Hey, listen, folks. Aside from Mark not being happy, a lot of us at this table have many reasons to be happy. Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars. Holy crap. As happens sometimes, you see these lovely lists of topics we have here to discuss today, but after we get our topics and everything put together, some new things drop. We got a couple things that dropped, and we're going to lead off with Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars. Entertainment Weekly, which seems to have the needle in its vein of all things coming out of Lucasfilm this time around. Like, seriously, they're getting everything first. And why not? They do a great job breaking everything out. They just released like a whole bunch of new images, as well as an incredible interview with J.J. Abrams giving us some insight into this movie that we have not yet had before. Now, before we get much into that, let's actually take a look at these images. So, Dennis, let's bring up... First of all, we get a good, this is a poster. This is a poster that goes on my bedroom wall.
Gorgeous. Look at the snowfall in the background.
The composition is so well done. Okay, let's move on to the next one here. This other image, great look. John Boyega looks like a down TIE fighter.
It looks like something that we saw in the behind-the-scenes footage that was displayed at Comic-Con first.
Good point about that. So let's bring up the next one here. This is kind of cool. We see that this is reminiscent of the Jawas on Tatooine that like go out and hunt droids that are out in the wild. I guess that's an industry. They got BB-8 there in the net. That looks pretty cool. I love the way that, you know, her mount, whatever it is that she's riding, is kind of like knelt down like a horse would kneel down. Looks pretty cool. All right, what's next? And, of course, the class. I remember when we were looking at these ones, this is the one that you jumped up at.
Well, yeah, because it's like, oh, that's the clearest shot we've had yet of C-3PO's new improved red arm. We don't know why it's red. We don't know why he needed a new arm. R2-D2, as usual, probably has the answers.
I think he was shoplifting something out of Zales or something like that. And, you know,
Zales.
Anyway, we got our first good look at Gleason as General. What's the general's name?
General Hux.
General Hux there. It strikes me, he looks young. I always knew, he is young, but I mean, seeing him, he looks a little bit young to be a general to me.
And look, a lot of times with Star Wars, there is the case of nepotism where it's like, oh, you know what, you're my kid, so now all of a sudden you're in. Maybe that happens with Kylo Ren. We'll talk about that in a second, but this guy, he looks like somebody put him in that position of power to me.
That's true, and he's wearing that coat like a boss. All right, what's next? Oh, and of course, we got to look at Captain Phasma.
Captain Phasma, played by Gwendolyn Christie.
She looks awesome. That outfit just looks killer. I cannot wait to find out more about what this line of troopers are, you know, and what they do, because she's not unique. I don't think she's going to be unique in this, so that'll be interesting to see. All right, what's next? And, of course, just a good old shot of somebody in the jumpsuit walking away from what looks like a painted black and orange X-Wing of some sort. Oh my gosh, and look in the background there. There's that
the classic
box droid from the Jawas. Yes. Very cool.
He looks like he's waiting for Val Kilmer to come up and give him a big hug.
All right, is that the last one, or is there another one? Oh, well, let's get to that one in a minute. So, anyway, Clarke, you had a chance now to take a look at some of these images, the things that jump out. What stood out to you amongst those images?
I'm just really excited. I mean, it looks like the original trilogy to me, which I think is super cool. I'm very excited for that. And you know, you guys listening to you guys talk, it was like watching sports announcers kind of describe what was going on the field. So I feel like I learned a lot. I'm a Star Wars fan. I love Star Wars. I grew up on it, and but I am not as entrenched in the game as you two are. So this was, I'm actually very glad that I got to go through picture by picture and listen to you two explain what exactly was going on. So I'm really excited. And I know J.J. Abrams, which I know we'll get to the interview in a minute, but he's such a Star Wars fan, and I know he's going to do right by the franchise. And I think these pictures are a great indication of what's going to come. So I'm excited about it.
It is a little bit weird that just looking at a couple of still pictures, I can honestly tell you it moved a little bit. But that's what Star Wars does. What are some of the images that really stood out to you that you like the most?
I actually liked watching the Daisy Ridley one because it proves that she's going to be a heroine that's going to get her hands dirty, that she's not just some princess that has this great background. She probably comes from nothing, a lot like what Luke Skywalker came from, and that she might be the figure in this next trilogy where she's going to be the one going forward that's going to save the galaxy or whatever she has to do against the likes of Captain Phasma and Kylo Ren. I love that shot of Phasma too, because to quote Luke Skywalker, to paraphrase him, it looks like she's seen some action in that suit. This is not her first rodeo. There's some scarring going on. It's very different from what the classic Stormtrooper, even the new First Order uniform looks like. So a lot of these things stand out to me, but like you said, they picked the right image to put on the cover of Entertainment Weekly.
Oh,
seeing Kylo Ren
It's
in the
such a
snow
great image.
with that lightsaber, it looks like what every team used to fear going into Green Bay in December. Like, it's just snowy. We know we're not going to get out of here with a win.
Peyton Manning is having a bad day. So, I mean, look, one of the other things, though, that really came out of this piece in Entertainment Weekly is J.J. Abrams talks a lot about Kylo Ren, this dude back here. Now, I just wanted to bring up, on last week's Jedi Council, I mentioned that I had somebody on the inside tell me that, hey, one of these main characters in this movie, the name you're hearing for them is not really their name. And so we were like, could it be Kylo Ren? Could it be one of the other guys? So we were asking that question. Then J.J. Abrams, we got a couple of quotes now from the J.J. Abrams interview from Entertainment Weekly. So let's bring up the first one here. This is the first quote, and they're talking about Ren here. That's another great picture of him walking with the troopers behind him.
That's him and his boys. That looks like the shot of Boys in the Hood.
It's such a great shot.
Yeah. What does he want? That much remains unclear, although he seems to be a Vader obsessive with an appearance influenced by that Dark Lord of the Sith who meets his demise long before Ren's birth. The movie explains the origins of the mask and where it's from, but the design was meant to be a nod to the Vader mask, Abrams tells EW. Ren is well aware of what comes before, and that's very much a part of the story of the film. That's fascinating. Now, this next part. As for his weapon of choice, there was some speculation that maybe he was an artifact hunter and he just found it as a remnant of the Old Republic. But this is entry. He says, as for the weapon of choice, Abrams can confirm what many suspected. It's a tool he crafted all by his lonesome. The lightsaber is something that he built himself and is as dangerous and as fierce and as ragged as the character. So you hear that comment, Mark. What do you make of those quotes?
I think that this guy definitely had a fat-headed Darth Vader on his wall when he was growing up. And to echo Christian Harloff from Jedi Council sentiments is that, remember when that concept art came out when it was somebody looking at Darth Vader's skull? And we even saw in that second teaser trailer a picture of the charred helmet of Darth Vader.
Right.
Kylo Ren is a fan of this guy, and he is an artifact hunter to some degree where he's looking at old Force relics, and maybe the knowledge that he gained from researching all this is what led him to be able to construct his own awesome looking lightsaber. So this guy clearly is hell-bent on evil. But what JJ says to me, it says to me personally, like he called me yesterday and he's like, this guy is a lot more complex. He isn't just somebody who's straight up evil. I think there's a lot of stuff going on in there. Anytime you have somebody who's this strong in the Force or is learning about the Force, it's more than just a Snidely Whiplash kind of bad guy. There's a lot of layers to this character.
Now, on top of those comments, one of the things that JJ also pointed out was that, look, his birth name is not Ren, and we'll get to those things in a second. But he's a part of a group called the Knights of Ren, which I thought sounded fascinating. But he also goes into it a little bit more. He compares Kylo Ren to Luke Skywalker. That Luke Skywalker being a character who came up from nothing, had greater aspirations, was drawn into something bigger than himself. He said Kylo Ren is almost like the mere reflection of that. And that even people on the dark side think they're the heroes of their story. And that's kind of a bit of Kylo Ren, which gives so many different layers to who this character is. You know, in the first couple of trailers, Clarke, I looked at this guy and thought, he will be a player in this film. He'll be one of the pieces of the puzzle. it seems like he's actually going to be a real focal piece. Anyway, hearing all that stuff from JJ, what are your impressions?
Well, I love, if you guys watch the show or you know anything about me, I love villains, I love genre, I love horror and those types of things. But I think what makes a compelling dark figure or villain is the complexity that we're talking about, and the idea that JJ is sort of is bringing those things up now and sort of laying the groundwork to let the fans know that yes, this guy is dangerous, but he also is going to be a complicated character. I think is awesome. And I think that those nuances are what makes these movies interesting in the first place. The fact that we learn that Darth Vader has a different kind of side to him. Yes, he's this scary, scary figure in A New Hope, but we learn so much more about him. I think that's why he has stood the test of time as one of the most compelling villains in cinema. So I think that these comments and quotes are really exciting, and he looks awesome.
He looks awesome. And now there's another set of quotes that are really interesting about Ren. So let's take a look at those right now. These ones are very intriguing. But there's another wrinkle to Kylo Ren. In typical Abrams fashion, the more the filmmaker reveals, the more questions arise. It turns out Kylo Ren isn't the character's real name, or at least not the name that he was born with.
Dun, dun, dun.
I just got goosebumps reading the damn quote. I just got goosebumps reading the quote. You can attend. Look at this.
His Fitbit is going off the charts right now.
Okay, so he is not who he appears to be. Kylo Ren is not his birth name. Look, I'm going to just call it. I'm going to call what it looks like to me. I think this leads more and more to going to some of that old, discarded, expanded universe stuff. I think this is a son of Han Solo. I think this is a son of Han and Leia. I think and I think the way it's going to turn out, I'm probably 10 degrees wrong on this, like way wrong. But what I'm envisioning in my head right now is this is a guy who got introduced to the notions of the Force because of Uncle Luke and all this kind of stuff. He became obsessed with that path, finding out who his grandfather is in Darth Vader, becomes obsessed with that, starts following that in his own path, and thinks he's the hero of his own story when actually he's fighting for the wrong. I mean, I don't know. Totally going off on a wild goose chase here, but the fact that there is going to be so much more to him, the fact that Kylo Ren is not who he is born as, this excites me so much. I'm so happy right now. Anyway, Mark, you hear those quotes. What do you think?
Well, I think that you might have been onto something when you mentioned that last week on Jedi Council. And that, like, look, in this landscape that we're in the post-Return of the Jedi world, it's not like you can just go be a Jedi Knight anywhere. It's not like CrossFit where there's one on every corner and you can go start working out. You need to know somebody with the last name Skywalker to get introduced to this stuff. So I think there's going to be some sort of link, whether it's actually a kid of Han and Leia or of Luke and whoever he was shacking up with, or it's just somebody that maybe trained with Luke at some sort of Jedi Temple situation. But from everything we've seen, from everything we've heard, Luke may not have that much to do with the story being told in Episode 7. He may be off pulling an Obi-Wan Kenobi and just hiding out somewhere, waiting for all this stuff to dissipate or to see what the next evolution of the Force is. This is clearly it, and it clearly spells doom for whoever is fighting against it.
Doom is coming. All right. So what were your reactions to that set of quotes?
I'm on board, and I'm excited for December. That's what I'll say. I can't even begin to speculate, but I'm stoked. It looks great. I'm so thrilled.
All right. To summarize the story, I'm so happy. All right. That was not the only thing to drop. I'm sure we're going to get a lot more into this come Jedi Council tomorrow. I'm sure Christian is at home weeping silently in his bed that he's not on today.
He Instagrammed a photo at 7 a.m. this morning of the cover. Like, well, I have to have this right now. I was like, how are you up at 7 a.m.?
I can confirm that his wife actually locked him in the shed. So he's fine. Everybody's safe for now.
But another significant thing dropped as well. We've all been looking forward to this little, you might have heard this filmmaker, Quentin Tarantino, and he's got this little film coming out called The Hateful Eight. Yesterday, the official poster dropped, and in true fashion Hollywood, the day after the poster drops, the first official trailer for The Hateful Eight comes out. Mark, you just watched it with us. Your reaction to the trailer.
That's right. If it's a snowy movie pick, we're going to talk about it on Collider. And I saw a lot of this footage at Comic-Con, but even this trailer, I think, had some new scenes that I didn't get to see yet. I love the way this trailer was composed. I love that it felt so much like a Quentin Tarantino film. From the opening scene, when you see Samuel L. Jackson, and as soon as you see that first look from Samuel L. Jackson, you're like, I bet Quentin Tarantino is the director of this movie. Seeing Kurt Russell and Jennifer Jason Leigh, who I have a feeling are going to be the two leads of the stars in this movie. And overall, it felt like a Western Clue to me. Everybody's going to be in one room, and something's going haywire. We got to figure it out. And who better to take us through that journey than Q? I can't wait for this movie to come out. And at the end, I love how much he's pushing the fact that this film was shot in classic Panavision using the actual lenses that were used on movies like Ben-Hur. This is going to be an epic film. If you get a chance to see it in 70 millimeter, it's the right way to witness this.
I'm just curious, on your speed dial after J.J. Abrams, is it Quentin Tarantino? That's what you call him, Q?
Yeah.
I call him Q. I think I called him Queerino one time on this show, so we'll stick with that.
This trailer is spectacular. It's spectacular. And one of the things that really excites me about it is we've talked before on the show about this, where it takes really exceptional performers and really exceptional filmmakers is confined element movies. Whether you're talking about something that's super confined, like Ryan Reynolds in Buried, which is like super, super confined, or whether you're talking about these one-room dramas and things like that. When you get into those types of films, you cannot rely on action to save you with the audience. You cannot rely on grand spectacle visuals to save you from the audience. The only thing that's going to save you with your audience is your storytelling ability and the acting you have on screen. And those take exceptional talents to do. And I got really excited watching this. It feels like a good chunk of this movie is going to happen in this one cabin. And with these actors and these players involved, that just excited me to no end. We didn't see the trailer was exciting without there being a bunch of big gunfights or whatever, and yet we still had those thrills watching it. And that line, that opening thing, when Russell comes in with Jennifer Jason Leigh, goes, "Anybody here committed to stopping me from doing that? She gonna hang." And she goes, it has all the charisma of a Quentin Tarantino film. I love the trailer. I cannot wait for December.
I love the idea too of the chamber piece. And I think if you look at the last couple of movies Tarantino has made, whether it was the dinner table scene in Django or whether it was the scene in the bar where they're all playing the game in Inglourious Bastards, he knows how to create tension in small spaces. To me, yes, the action and the big stuff in those last two movies are exciting and compelling, but those tense, quiet, confined scenes in his last two films, to me, are the ones that stand out. And so the idea that you could potentially have these characters, these actors in that confined space like you both were talking about is very exciting. And for me, I know that a lot of people have a soft spot for Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, and of course, but I, as a fan, believe that Tarantino is just getting better with every movie. I like each new movie better than the last, kind of starting with Jackie Brown for me. So the idea that this one has Kurt Russell in it, because Kurt Russell has been kind of laying low a little bit over the last handful of years, and obviously is very selective about the type of things. He was rumored to have been approached about Expendables and just like, nah, I'm not interested, I'm good. So the idea that, he is out in full force in front of this, I think really says a lot about the material and about the fact that he was excited about this. And so I love Kurt Russell. I'm a huge fan. He is a badass. I am very excited for this whole situation.
And only a director like Quentin Tarantino can dig up Michael Marsden out of wherever he hangs out. Because the last thing I saw Michael Marsden, and I'm not joking, was a little movie on Sci-Fi called Piranhathon, where it was a mix between a piranha and a python. And it's him the definition of mailing it in. He's riding this boat down these Florida Everglades, and you can just see on his face he's so bored. But it's supposed to be an action sequence, and it cuts to this horrible CG, half python, half piranha in the water chasing after his boat. And he goes, "A creature like this, you gotta keep in front of." And it's just like, wow. It has been 20 years since you cared. But Quentin Tarantino, when he's in a Tarantino film, the dude shines. He's great. And so I was actually kind of excited to see him pop up.
And also Jennifer Jason Leigh, too. Look, this movie's coming out at the right time, and it's being released in 2015 in select markets, so it can get Oscar consideration. Don't sleep on her getting a Best Supporting Actress nod for this movie. It looks like it's got Oscar potential written all over.
Don't sleep on a lot of potential nods throughout this, because this looks like it could just
be... Or Piranhathon, for that matter.
Belated Emmy consideration for your consideration.
All right, now with all of that goodness out of the way, let's get to the actual prepared stories for the day. So, Sinead, I forgot you were here.
Right?
What do we got?
Hey, guys, how's it going?
Good to see you.
All right, well, get ready to say Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. As many of you know, a follow-up film to the 1988 Michael Keaton film has been rumored and talked about for many years. Last year, director Tim Burton mentioned that he and Michael Keaton have been working on a sequel, and now actress Winona Ryder confirms that a new Beetlejuice is indeed in the works and that she will be a part of it. She said the following: "I think I can confirm it because Tim Burton did this interview. It was very hush-hush, top secret. I don't know what may happen. I don't know." And then he was doing some press for Big Eyes, and he did an on-camera interview, and he said, "Oh yeah, we're doing it, and Winona's going to be in it. So can I say? I mean, if he said it, but I really don't know much more than anybody else." Mark, do you buy or sell them making another Beetlejuice film and Winona Ryder being a part of it?
It's showtime. I buy both of these, and in a huge way. I'm very excited about the prospect of a new Beetlejuice film for a new generation, seeing Michael Keaton back, and now with Winona Ryder, too. The story of Lydia Dietz is really the story of Beetlejuice because she was the conduit between these dead people and then maybe summoning Beetlejuice and the rest of the Dietzes, who are just this crazy family, hilariously so. So I'm all on board with this, and especially the Tim Burton. He's had some misses recently, but the movie Big Eyes, to me, showed that he still has a storytelling flair and a directorial ability that's unlike anybody else. Even though it wasn't a classic Burton style of movie, I think it showed that he still has a lot of ability in this realm. This is the right movie to show it off again.
Yeah, I think Big Eyes was one of those misses. I really do. I was not impressed with pretty much anything in Big Eyes, and I was really excited for it. I was really, really pumped for that. I am all for, if you're going to do another Beetlejuice, Winona Ryder come back. I think that's the right move. I actually really like Winona Ryder. I know she has her detractors out there, but I always smile a little bit whenever I see her, whether she's Spock's mom or whether she's flirting with Zoolander in the back red room of the club or whatever. I like seeing Winona Ryder screen, so that's cool. But as Kevin Smith said in his famous story about Superman, really? Beetlejuice? Haven't we already kind of said everything we need to say? I think I would have been more excited about this if this news was 4 years out. If this was 1993 or 95 even. I just think the song Too Little Too Late applies here. I can't feel any enthusiasm for this. Now watch, first trailer comes out and it'll knock me on my ass and I'll be like, yeah, goosebumps. But as of right now, I feel no enthusiasm about this. And I can't get excited about a Tim Burton movie anymore either. So anyway, that's just me. What do you think?
Well, so I'm somewhere in between the two of you. So, I have reservations. I love the movie, the original, like you do, Mark. It's a movie that I grew up on. It's one of those gateway movies into my love of genre, for that matter. I've been watching it since I was a little kid. I had a little Beetlejuice pull string doll. Like I had all of it. But I think that, there are a couple of little teeny red flags here. I think last we heard Seth Grahame-Smith was one of the screenwriters who is attached to this. Is that still right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, and so the gentleman who brought us Dark Shadows.
Yeah.
And so that kind of makes me a little nervous. Here's the thing, though. I think this could work if the production remembers two things. The first thing is, Michael Keaton was on screen for less than 20 minutes in the original movie. We need to use Beetlejuice sparingly because that is the whole world it's not only just the character of Beetlejuice. It's the Dietzes, it's the afterlife, it's all of these, it's the Maitlands, it's all of these types of things. And so I think that that's really important to remember. You have to, be careful. Not too much. Too much is not always better. The other thing I wanted to mention is I hope that the production remembers another part of the charm of the original, which was the stop motion and those types of fun, quirky effects. Like, at this point, yes, we know we have the magic of CG, not to harken back to our conversation about CG versus digital or practical and all of that. But so much of that charm was this quirky world that was made up of these claymation things. And I hope, this would be my wish as a fan, that they kind of stick with that. Even though they don't have to, let's use some practical makeups. Let's use some claymation. Let's use these types of effects and really, really do an honest throwback while continuing the story, but really, really harken back to what made the first movie so magical.
And a little bit of an interesting fact about the original Beetlejuice, the characters of Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis, they died by drowning in that film. Just wanted to bring that up. Some of you will know what I'm talking about. All right, what's next?
The first official poster for the upcoming Bryan Cranston film, Trumbo, has hit the web. Trumbo follows the successful career of the 1940 screenwriter Dalton Trumbo and explores how it all came to a crashing end when he and other Hollywood figures were blacklisted for their political beliefs. Trumbo was the highest-paid screenwriter of his day when he was brought before Senator Joseph McCarthy's House Un-American Activities Committee. Refusing to testify, Trumbo was blacklisted but continued to write under fake names, winning Academy Awards for both Irving Rapper's The Brave One and William Wyler's Roman Holiday. Trumbo opens in limited release on November 6th. Clarke, do you buy or sell the sounds of Trumbo and the first official poster?
Yeah, I mean, I think Trumbo sounds great. First of all, Jay Roach knows what he's doing behind the camera, especially when it comes to a lot of these political movies or politically tinged movies that he's been doing in the last couple of years, like Game Change and Recount, and he directed the pilot of The Brink on HBO. So those things are really exciting. Also, this cast is ridiculous. Like, yes, we all love, Bryan Cranston, and we all know what a killer he is. But it's also got Helen Mirren and Louis C.K.
Yeah,
Louis C.K.
really
down there in the bottom of the poster for you guys at home. Take a look. That's Louis C.K. with the hat and the mustache. And I'm a huge fan of his, whether he's doing scripted content or his stand-up. So I think that this could be a really interesting movie. Also, Jay Roach is not afraid to make things funny. And Cranston is a very gifted, subtle, dark comedian. And obviously this is a dark and sad story in a lot of ways, although it has a lot of nice moments in it too, in terms of like him winning Oscars. But, I think that this is going to be it could be a really fun, well-rounded type of movie. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, the type of political backlash and political opposition you face in this town is crazy. Like, there is a prejudice in this town against Canadians. So that's why I've been writing under my secret pen name of Aaron Sorkin for a number of years. But no, look, Bryan Cranston, I cannot help but be excited simply because Bryan Cranston is leading this. Dude is a powerhouse actor. We all know what he did on television. I think he gets overlooked a lot for the performance he gave us in Argo. I really thought his performance in Argo was just killer, but there's so much amazing about that film that it gets lost a little bit in the shuffle. This period of American history is so fascinating. And to somebody of my generation and younger, it seems like fiction. Like, America didn't really do that, did they? It is one of these crazy periods of time when just some lunatic stuff was going on, and guys like Trumbo was caught in the middle of it. Everything about this sounds great, and this poster just looks, I'm instantly drawn in by the poster. I'm totally fascinated by this. So yeah, count me on board.
Yeah, the poster's fantastic because Bryan Cranston, and just that one look shows you so much about the character. Yeah, you gather he's a screenwriter, but there's also, it's like he's looking up. It's like somebody just told him that McCarthy is looking for him, and he half doesn't really take it seriously. Then the other half, there's a little bit of panic in his eyes. So you can see just the tension rising even in his face when you look at the entire cast and what this film is about. This is a huge, huge win. And this poster, it's one of those ones that's going to catch your eye when you're leaving a movie theater. That's what I look for in posters. It's like, yeah, you're going to see the big blockbuster, and oh, look at that lightsaber. Look at that guy. He's flying from a planet. This looks quieter. It looks smaller, but it looks intense. That's what you want to put on the poster.
Now, this is going to be one of those situations that, unfortunately, it's only going to come out in November with a limited release. Here's really hoping this is going to be one of those situations which comes out in limited, gets a great reception, and goes wider, because I'm dying to see this film. All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show now for buy or sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Sinead's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down, and those of us at the table are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Sinead, what do we got?
Are you all ready to get gemmed?
Yes! Oh, God, yes! Oh, wow.
A little while back, the first trailer for the upcoming John M. Chu film, Gem and the Holograms, arrived and met with almost universal disapproval. Now, a new trailer for the film has hit the web to try to change the tide. John, did you buy or sell this brand new Gem and the Holograms trailer?
Woo! Sell! But, I will say this. Whereas that first Gem and the Holograms trailer was just garbage, just awful. This is not a good trailer, but it ain't nearly as bad. I'll give it that. This one is a big improvement. See, if this was the first trailer to go, yeah, still not interested in the movie. That's not like, oh my God, have you seen how terrible this is, Gem and the Holograms? This is an improvement. For some inexplicable reason, they still use that Story of My Life song in the trailer. That's completely inapplicable. But at least they have some kind of invention from her dad that projects home movies. okay, that I guess are going to be her moral compass's North Star and will bring her back home. No, there's nothing to be excited about this movie about. I got to go see it on Monday. I'm not looking forward to it at all. So no, but a vast improvement on the last trailer to the point now I think there are going to be some people that might even enjoy it. Nobody that I would hang out with, but it might. Anyway, you saw the trailer. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, first of all, Gem and the Holograms was something that I missed in my upbringing. I think I might have been a little too young for it, but so I don't have the affinity or the affection for the cartoon that so many people do. That being said, even I know what Synergy is. Even I know who Synergy is, and so the idea that this like projection, I was like, oh, they've got a projector, great, but where's Synergy? Like, where's the character of it's like a head scratcher to me. Like, why would you cut out the lady or the personification of Synergy? Does anybody else on this table know what I'm talking about?
Oh yes.
Okay,
we discussed it
y'all
before.
are looking at me like I'm crazy.
Totally lost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, you can Google it. But so it's just like weird to me that they would cut that image out. Also, this is a Blumhouse movie, which I think is actually very interesting. And so in that way, I'm morbidly curious because I think, Blumhouse is a studio that brings you all the horror movies and Whiplash and Gem and the Holograms, which is super interesting to me. So I'm probably not going to see this. But yeah, you're right. The trailer is, I guess, a little better than the first one, but I don't really care either way, to be honest.
Well, unfortunately, I'm going to have to see it. I'm going to sell this trailer, but I echo John's sentiments, is that, look, before I was a comic and a movie enthusiast, I was thinking about pre-med, so I took a biology class. The first test came back. I'm not going to tell you how bad that score was. The second test came back, and it said 53, nice improvement. That's what this trailer is. It still flunks, but it's better than the original trailer. I'm still not that excited about the movie. Sorry.
All right, what's next?
As many of you know, actor Tom Hanks will be starring in the upcoming Clint Eastwood movie about Captain Chesley Sully Sullenberger, the pilot who skillfully glided his U.S. Airways Flight 1549 onto the Hudson River, saving the lives of all 155 people on board. Now, according to a report in The Hollywood Reporter, Hanks has his co-pilot. The Dark Knight actor Aaron Eckhart will play Jeff Skiles, first officer and co-pilot to Hanks's Captain Sully during the 2009 incident famously known as the Miracle on the Hudson. Mark, do you buy or sell the addition of Aaron Eckhart to the cast of Eastwood's new film?
I buy Aaron Eckhart being in this movie because if you had to cast a pilot, you cast Aaron Eckhart. Look at that guy. He looks like the guy that when you're leaving, you just want to hey, thank you for landing us safely, sir. The fact that he's the co-pilot is the only thing shocking to me. Who could be a better pilot than Aaron Eckhart? Well, I guess Tom Hanks or Sully Sullenberger could. So the fact that Eastwood's doing this, the story is intriguing to me. The Miracle on the Hudson is obviously a fascinating event. I don't know. What's the whole movie? Is the whole movie simply that event, or do we go back into Sully's life? I'm curious to see what the rest of this movie, how it unfolds, and how much Aaron Eckhart is going to have to do with that. If he's just sitting and he's the co-pilot for that 15 minutes, or if he actually has a backstory with Sully. So the fact they cast a name as big as Aaron Eckhart means something to me.
Aaron Eckhart is one of these names. This comes up every once in a while, but he's one of these names where I'm just kind of flabbergasted about how did this guy not become one of the high-level A-listers in this business? He's got all the talent in the world. If you haven't seen Thank You for Smoking,
so good.
Watch Thank You for Smoking. It's a great movie, man. He is so good in that. He can carry a film. And then, coming out of The Dark Knight, one of the most beloved movies, in the genre, you just figure he was poised for that. Then he did that Battle Los Angeles. Not a good film. Not a good film. But who cares? Lots of great actors have done a couple of projects that weren't so good. I just never understood how he did not break through. Look, whenever you add talent, it's a good thing. Aaron Eckhart is a huge talent to me on an already incredibly interesting sounding projects. So for me, this is a buy.
Yeah, I like Aaron Eckhart. I also love Thank You for Smoking. I remember when I went to Comic-Con with AMC Movie Talk, I interviewed him for I, Frankenstein, and I almost said Hot Frankenstein. So but he's a doll. He's so nice. He's so friendly, and he's incredibly talented, as you've all said. So sure, why not? It's a buy.
And the other half of his face grew back really nice.
Yeah, really smooth. Really nice improvement.
All right, what's next?
Actor Mark Wahlberg is certainly keeping busy. Wahlberg already has 4 upcoming films, including Daddy's Home, Mile 22, Deepwater Horizon, and the Boston Marathon bombing film Patriots Day. Now you can add a new romantic comedy to that list. According to a report from Deadline, Wahlberg has signed on to play the leading role in Partners, an original action comedy from New Line Cinema. Wahlberg will play a Los Angeles police detective who falls for a beautiful woman, only to later discover that she's both an FBI agent and the person in charge of the case on which he's currently working. Clarke, do you buy or sell the sounds of Partners?
I mean, I think I sell it. In fact, I know I sell it. I think that, look, Mark Wahlberg is perfectly capable of being funny. I just sometimes don't know if he means to be. I don't know if he's intentionally funny sometimes. And especially when it comes to him being like a romantic comedy guy, that doesn't, Mark Wahlberg is not the first name that springs to mind for me. So, this sounds like a sell to me. I'm going to sell it.
You know what? I'm going to buy it. Strictly on the basis of I really like the move from Mark Wahlberg. Like when you go down that list of the films he's got coming up, Mile 22, Deepwater Horizon, Patriots Day, I like that he's going to mix that in and mix it up a little bit with some lighter romantic comedy, whatever. I think it's a good move for him. Now, whether the movie turns out to be any good, I honestly think I'm going to reserve judgment on whether I think Partners sounds like it could be good or could be bad, completely depending on who gets cast opposite him. That will go a long way in determining whether I think I'm going to look forward to the movie or not. But just on the basis that I like Wahlberg keeps mixing it up with his career, I'm going to give it by a margin. I'm going to give it a buy.
Well, if I was a studio exec and you came to me with that pitch, I would say, I'm going to sell this until you come to me with who you're casting. Because as of right now, I got to sell this movie. It just doesn't sound that original or that interesting or even that funny. It sounds ridiculous to me as of right now. And again, I like action comedies. I think that Mark Wahlberg does a great job in them. If you had a talking bear in this movie, I would be buying it all over the place. That's
his love
not
interest.
in this instance. And again, it could be cast and it could seem less like a Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Oh, wait, you're the one that's been working for how are you going to make me believe this story is a huge question mark to me. I like Mark Wahlberg a lot. He's got a lot of movies coming out that I'm looking forward to. This isn't one of them yet.
All right, folks, listen, we've reached that part of the show now, and this time of the week for Rewind, or like I like to call it sometimes, the Feeling Old segment, where we look back at the films that this week turn 20 years old and the films that also just turned 10 years old this week. And we're going to start off with the films that turned 10 years old this week. We've got 10 years ago this week, Deuce, Bigalow, European Gigolo, the highly anticipated sequel. We've got The Skeleton Key, the Kate Hudson horror film. And speaking of Mark Wahlberg, Four Brothers. Clarke, let's start with you. Which of these movies, if any, stood out to you?
Actually, one of them does, and I'm being very serious. Skeleton Key. Skeleton Key is not a good movie, admittedly.
I'm so glad you said that. I thought we were going to go in a totally different direction.
However, since Hollywood is now in the business of remaking movies that are 10 years old or less, can we remake Skeleton Key?
That's a good
premise is fantastic, and it's this great Southern Gothic New Orleans horror or concept location. It's got elements of voodoo. It's such a miss. It was such a miss, but the idea was so good. So I vote remaking Skeleton Key.
You know, I think you just completely nailed it. Yeah, that movie was bad, but the concept was great. And you execute that movie right, you've got a really cool modern classic that I think you could tell, and it would be inexpensive. This is right up Blumhouse's alley. Actually,
Let me make a call. I'll be right back.
This would be right up their alley. Deuce, Bigalow, European Gigolo has to be, honestly, I think it has to be, without hyperbole, on my top 10 worst comedies of all time. It is so unbelievably unfunny and just awful. Now, I didn't like the first one either, and I got a lot of friends who really did. I didn't like it, but I didn't loathe it. It's not like memorable, it's so bad. European Gigolo, so horrifically awful. And it kind of ended the conversation about, is Rob Schneider going to be a legit leading man and not ever just be, is it Garrett? Like, if he's just not going to be, no, he's always just going to be that guy. It's just, No. Four Brothers, decent movie. I liked Four Brothers. I enjoyed Four Brothers myself. But which of these films stand out to you?
Well, obviously, European Gigolo. I mean, they didn't give me a dime off that story, and I lived that for 5 years of my life. I never saw Deuce Bigalow, either of the Deuce Bigelows. I know the first one was a moderate hit, so whatever. God love you for making a sequel and trying. Skeleton Key, I thought was an entertaining horror movie for a while, and you're right, the concept deserves another treatment because of the way that it's revealed what's actually going on, and it just goes to show you, if you're looking at property anywhere in the United States, don't buy in upstate New York, and don't buy in New Orleans because your place is haunted.
All right, now let's move on to the films that turn 20 years old this week. And we've got the Michelle Pfeiffer Dangerous Minds. We've got the ever so popular A Walk in the Clouds, and we've got A Kid in King Arthur's Court. I gotta tell you, I didn't see a Kid in King Arthur's Court.
Yeah.
I never felt drawn to see. Have you? You
No.
saw it? Oh,
I saw
Never
it.
seen it.
I remember that one.
Really?
That's the one that I remember. I totally saw that movie. That guy, I remember that. Is that Thomas Ian Nicholas?
Oh, it might be.
Maybe?
Sure.
I just
I'll go with that.
don't
Maybe not,
know.
or someone else. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't think it is, actually. I think I got his name wrong. Regardless, I remember that movie. And also, I remember Dangerous Minds, Coolio song. I knew all the words to Gangster's Paradise. I was the coolest 9-year-old ever.
Which of these movies stand out to you?
Yeah, Dangerous Minds is the one that stands out because of the Coolio tune is the one that you remember it more than the movie. But it was a kind of a cool story, and then it spawned a bunch of other teachers helping out ruffian kids and learning about themselves, and even a spoof movie called High School High with John Lovitz, I believe, and Tia Carrera. Yeah, I've seen every movie, even the bad ones, except for Four Brothers and Deuce Bigalow, European Gigolo, apparently.
Yeah, Dangerous Minds is actually one of these films that kind of spawned similar themed films to come after it for the next 10, 15 years. And you're right. And that kind of makes it an important film in many ways. And I really like Michelle Pfeiffer in the role.
Oh, yeah.
I thought she was really strong in the role. Walk in the Clouds, for all the wrong reasons, is the one that I remember the most. For all the wrong reasons. Just, no, not a good movie. Not a good one at all. And actually, I just pulled it up on IMDb in front of me, and I'm trying to look for things. It's like, was it as bad as I remember? And I'm looking at different facts and figures. Like, no. This is everything bad thing that I remember. It did indeed come from that movie.
Well, it was like an attempt for Keanu Reeves to step outside because he was Bill and Ted, and then Point Break, and then Speed.
Yeah.
He was really good in Speed.
Yes,
and it's
he
like
was.
this guy might have all the tools, and you see Walk in the Clouds, you're like, oh, this is reminding me of him and Bram Stoker's Dracula way too much. And then The Matrix came out and let us forget about A Walk in the Clouds. So take the red pill.
Take the red pill indeed. All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show now for mailbag. Listen, if you've got a question or a topic you'd like us to bring up on the show, you can just email it to us anytime at collidervideo@gmail.com. Every day we try to get to a couple of your questions. So Sinead, what do we got?
Emmanuel writes, "Hey Collider crew, I was wondering, since Fantastic Four was such a bust at the box office, do you think that Fox will try to pull a Sony type of deal with Marvel by allowing Fantastic Four to be in the MCU, but having Fox still hold the rights to Fantastic Four?"
Nope. And there's a one key major difference between the Sony and Spider-Man situation and the Fox and the Fantastic Four situation. For Marvel to get Spider-Man back, they would have needed Sony to stop making Spider-Man movies. I mean, it's just as simple as that. For Marvel to get him back, they would have needed to stop making Spider-Man movies, and that wasn't going to happen. As much as everybody likes to talk and pretend and put blinders on their eyes and pretend that The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was some kind of big financial bomb, the movie, I believe, made over $700 million. Okay? Now everybody says, oh, that's not as much as it should have made. Granted, maybe it still made a lot of money. And they were not about to stop. They were going to make more. If Marvel then wanted to get Spider-Man into their cinematic universe, they would have had to have done one of two things. They would have had to have gone to Sony and offered them a ton of cash, to the point that it wouldn't have made financial sense because they don't really need them that much. They're doing just great without Spider-Man, but they wanted Spider-Man. So, and Sony was in a little bit of a position of weakness. So it's like, we'd like to do something different because what we're doing isn't quite working, but we're still making money. We're going to keep doing it if we can. And so they made a deal, and a deal between the two parties made sense. Now Marvel gets to have him in their movies. Sony still gets to own the rights to him and make their own standalone ones. Everybody is happy. Everybody wins. With Fox and the Fantastic Four and the Fantastic Mr. Fox, the situation is totally different. Why would Marvel make a deal with Fox right now? They don't need to. They know Fantastic Four at Fox is dead. It is. All they have to do now, all Marvel has to do now is do what they did with Daredevil when Daredevil was with Fox. They just have to sit back, kick up their feet, and wait for Fox to not do anything with it, and they'll just get them back lock, stock, and barrel. There's no motivation here for Marvel to make a deal with Fox so Fox can keep Fantastic Four. It ain't going to happen. I have been the choir boy for keep Fantastic Four and X-Men and Deadpool, keep them all away from Marvel, because that way another studio gets to do them. We get to have more comic book heroes every year, blah, blah, blah. I've drawn the line. You've had 3 swings of the bat. You have 3, major whiffs. You struck out. Keep X-Men. You're doing great on X-Men because you don't interfere with Bryan Singer. So that's great. Let them keep that. But nah, this deal ain't gonna happen. Am I missing something here, guys? Do you guys see it any differently?
I literally co-sign everything you just said. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I just do not care. And if Fantastic Four went back to Marvel eventually, it's not there's no rule that says they have to incorporate these 4 characters in their already existing MCU. They could also make a standalone Fantastic Four movie where they're the only superhero mutants in the game. But at this point, and it's not the fault of any of the characters or even the actors in this movie. It's just that we've seen it too many times. I just do not care.
All right, what's next?
Omar writes, greetings, Collider crew. Today it was announced that there won't be any new trailers for Star Wars at D23. Why is Disney so secretive about this movie when it's just 4 months away? Wouldn't it be better for the studio to build up the hype like WB did with BVS, Batman vs. Superman, instead of treat it as just another movie? Thanks and keep being awesome.
Okay, so let's start by giving you the benefit of the doubt that when you wrote that, you probably didn't know that this big EW piece was dropping. So let's take that out of the equation totally, because that's not your fault at all. But keeping this movie a secret? They just had this massive worldwide Star Wars celebration event where hundreds of thousands of people from around the world joined via online and gathered and crowded in Anaheim, California, and be a big part of it. The movie is still over 4 months away, and they've already given us 2 trailers. That's the thing. They've already given us 2 trailers, and the movie is still over 4 months away. So there is nothing that I've personally seen out of Disney or Lucasfilm that they're treating Star Wars like just another movie. I think their strategy on this has been brilliant up to this point. The way they've been handling media, how much they give. And it's funny because quite often film fans, myself included, people at this table included, we will complain, that movie's showing us too much, too much. 4 months out, we've already got 2 trailers. We've already got Star Wars Celebration. We've got and we're complaining that they're hiding it? Nah, they're doing everything right at the right time. Plus, I think we talked about this on Jedi Council, and I think maybe you agree with me. I've always thought that they're going to use D23 to highlight Rogue One. It would have made sense if they did some Episode 7 stuff, I think. Would have made sense. I wouldn't have been surprised if they did, but I really thought they were going to handle, focus on Rogue One. I think that's what they're going to do, put the spotlight on there. We still got 4 months to go for lots of marketing to come. Anyway, Mark, how do you see all this?
I think Omar and I are cut from the same cloth in that we're both fervent Star Wars fans. And when you are such a rabid fan of a franchise like this, 2 things tend to happen is that you have a short memory and you get spoiled easily. The short memory is like, oh, well, we haven't gotten anything, and you hear we're not getting anything from the Force Awakens at D23. Well, we have gotten a lot of great things from the Star Wars Brain Trust already about this movie. So they're not keeping it so super secretive that nobody knows it's coming out. Everybody knows this movie is happening in December, and you can't get spoiled on the fact that they gave us a great trailer, so we expect one at every convention now. I would love to see new Force Awakens footage at D23. I'm still not 100% that they're not going to show us anything, but I don't need to see it. I don't need to see anything else. I think that we're going to get a trailer when they're good and ready, and I would prefer for them to not have to rush something and do something out of their comfort zone just to give it to fans at a convention. Do it when you are ready, because everything you've done so far makes me trust you from a marketing perspective, from a merchandising perspective, and as a fan who doesn't want too much revealed.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think keeping some secrets is very, very important. And, I think the way they did it today, and again, there's no way Omar could have known the pictures and the spread that was going to come out today. But I think that that's actually the perfect little taste. It's like you're getting the images, JJ is talking, this needs to satisfy for a little while longer. Because at the end of the day, I don't know about you, but I actually actively avoid at TV spots and clips and things like that because I just want to experience the piece as a whole. And I watched the teaser trailer for Force Awakens when it came out. I watched the full trailer when it came out. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm kind of good. I want to go on this ride. I want to experience it all as it was meant to be seen. And so for me, I actually think it's a good idea that they're not showing or saying they're going to show that much more at D23. And I hope that they show more from the other movies. That could be kind of cool.
I hope they have one more full trailer
before the premiere.
One more full trailer to come. There will probably be two. There will probably be two. I would be totally content.
I'd guess
with
there's just going to be the one more theatrical trailer. What JJ said, that'll probably give us a little bit more insight into what's going to happen. Then you have your TV spots that might have one or two new clips, and then let's get this damn movie out, baby.
Perfect sentiments. All right, folks, that will do it for us for this installment of Collider Movie Talk. Thank you so much for joining us. Listen, don't forget, lots of great films playing over at our friends at AMC Theaters. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for all of your theater, showtime, and of course, your movie ticket information. If you want an audio-only podcast of this, just search in your favorite podcast application for Collider, and you will find our podcast there for a limited time. And also, don't forget, the most important thing, subscribe to this YouTube channel. And I want to mention, too, if you love up-to-the-minute movie and entertainment, information, and news and commentary, make sure you bookmark Collider.com. Frosty and his crack team of writers over there always doing a great job of keeping us up to date on everything that's going on. I want to thank, first of all, the people sitting at the table with me. First of all, sitting over here, Miss Clarke Wolfe. Clarke, where can people find you online?
They can find me on the Instagram and the Twitters at Clarke Wolfe, Clarke with an E, Wolf with an E, and on YouTube, youtube.com/official Clarke Wolfe. And thank you guys very much for having me.
Over here, Mr. Mark Ellis. Mark, when you're not sucker punching me, where can people find you online?
You can find me not in the Jets locker room anymore, and you can find me, John, and Christian are going to be at D23 this weekend, so follow me on Twitter at 5150Ellis, and on Instagram. We'll give you all the latest news from there. And my fall stand-up tour kicks off in Kansas City in September. Get tickets at markellislive.com.
Woo!
And, of course, our lovely host today, Sinead DeFries. Sinead, when you're not hanging out on ABC Family and stuff like that, where can people find you?
I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Sinead DeFries and at that'ssosinead.com.
And, of course, you can follow me on the various social media networks just at John Campea. That'll do it for us, guys. For Collider Video, my name's John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.